Donald Trump's troubled endgame on Iran. This morning, Trump was backing down from a public vow to obliterate civilian power plants in Iran. The laws of war tend to regulate that type of thing, to say the least. He says the U.S. is also in high-level talks with Iran. That's what the president says. Iran's pushing back on that. Trump said the Iranian counterpart in the talks, however, is not the supreme leader. He won't say who he claims to be negotiating with. Iran's foreign ministry said there's, quote, no dialogue between the two nations. Now, in war, there can be, of course, many conflicting claims. The problem for Donald Trump is he doesn't have credibility on this issue any more than the way he said that they'd previously obliterated other parts of Iran's weapons last year, only to claim those same weapons as part of the reason they started this war. The two sides are at odds over whether there are truce talks happening. That's how Bloomberg puts it. It could be secret truce talks. We just don't have a lot of credibility from this White House on this war. The Strait of Hormuz, however, remains closed. Everyone can see that. Oil prices up, crude oil up about 39%. Gas prices now in America up similarly 38%. People go to the pump. They see this affect their lives. The spillover is huge when you look at the overall economy and all the other things that involve gas prices. And a question now on Wall Street over whether Trump's war, above everything else, could actually trigger a recession. Fertilizer also up 25%. There's a contingent of over 4,000 sailors and Marines en route to the region, and questions about what that means. An Israeli official, meanwhile, says the Marines aren't coming for decoration. Trump was pressed on all of this today.
What about the Strait of Hormuz? Who's going to be in control of that?
That'll be opened very soon if this works.
How soon? And who's in control of it? Will Iran still be able to control the flow of oil?
Be jointly controlled.
By who?
Maybe me. Maybe me.
You want the United States to be in
me
control
and the Ayatollah, whoever the Ayatollah is, whoever the next Ayatollah. Look, and there'll also be a form of a very serious form of a regime change.
We're joined now by General Wesley Clark, the retired four-star Army general who also was the Supreme Allied Commander of NATO, relevant to so many of these stories. Welcome back, General. I mentioned that while there can be strategic opacity in communications during war, Donald Trump has withered away much of the credibility of his administration on this and other topics. The New York Times saying, quote, lying about war is uniquely corrosive. When a president signals the truth doesn't matter in wartime, he encourages his cabinet and his generals to mislead the country, makes it harder to win, hiding the realities of conflict. Allies become wary of joining the fight, and he undermines American values and interests. Your view on the president's credibility and the war planning that is evident here or lack thereof?
There's no doubt President Trump says a lot of things. He goes from one side to the other, from we're winning, we need allies, we don't need allies, we don't want to talk, now we're talking. But in war, communications like this are part of the process, and it's incumbent on the Iranians, if they want to drive a tough bargain, to deny that there's any communication. And at the same time, President Trump is trying to do something with the markets and oil price, and he says there are negotiations. So, it got us through one day. The stock market went up, oil prices went down. There was a little bit of credibility left there. How many times can he play the same card? That's a question. But on one throw of the card, it worked. Now, we just don't know what the end game is, Ari, on this. You have to do three things simultaneously if you're the United States. Number one, you got to continue the air campaign. Number two, at the same time, you got to find a way to talk about it, because the air campaign is leverage, but it's not the way you're going to end the war. You've got to have some kind of a settlement at the end of the war. And you've got to get the Strait of Hormuz open. And that means troops. And that means lots of troops. And more than 2 MEUs. So there's 1.8 million people approximately that live within, let's say, 50 miles of the Strait of Hormuz, or the northern shore of the Persian Gulf. 1.8 million. And any of those could be terrorists. If we were to put Marines ashore, you're talking about urban conflict. You're talking about something that's far greater than the capacity of 2 Marine landing teams to be able to handle and provide security. So we don't want to do that, but you may have to do it, and you certainly need to be preparing for it. And in the midst of all this,
when you let me ask you though, to slow you down.
They do it.
Just to slow you down. When you say you may quote have to do it, that means because of the decisions the Trump administration has made and the problem in the Strait, you have to resolve it one way or the other. You're saying you either militarily resolve it, which is an escalation, or you get them to reopen it because we got an agreement. But you're saying status quo, we can't just be like this for years.
That's right. You can't. If you do, it is a loss because you basically ceded control of 20% of the world's fuel to Iran. So one of the things you need to do probably right away is close the strait by preventing any Iranian ships from leaving. One of the things that's happened to us is we're now trying to do everything at once. So we've relaxed sanctions on Russia. We've told the Iranians you can sell what's at sea, and all of this in an effort to make the price of gasoline 10 cents less at the pump or 15 cents less at the pump. I understand the politics of it because the politics in America are what drive the foreign policy. And if President Trump loses the support of the Republican Party, the MAGA wing, for this because of they're driving pickup trucks or whatever and they're paying too much for gasoline, well, that's a very bad thing for the country. We don't want to lose this as America. So politics at home are important, but you've got to prioritize things. So we don't want to be giving Russia $100 billion here where they can continue to fight in Ukraine. We need to shut the Strait of Hormuz. So you Iranians think you can control it? You're wrong. We control it. On the outside, you're not going to get any of your ships out. So, and I know you're trying to be nice to India. India, why don't you be nice to the world and tell the Iranians to open the straits completely? And so we're going to have to do things like this to get leverage before we have to commit tens of thousands of U.S. Marines and soldiers. I don't want to see that happen, but that's the position that we're in.